And be careful what you wish for when she just shows up, chocked full of Bud Light seltzer, and scores 3 strong goals on LAFC. Watch it happen.
You know what would scare me? What would scare me is if Chicharito before the game puts on a Damian Lillard jersey. Then that's what would scare me. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Thank you for downloading and listening to the West Box Score. We take a look at sports on the west side of the country, inside and outside the box score. Here to do that with me is my co-host, my co-pilot, my co-captain, the Phil Jackson, to my Ron Harper, Donald Paz. What's up, Donald?
Man, I'm doing good, man, but it's really hot out here.
Seriously, man, I'm trying not to melt into my chair in this 100-degree weather. It's nuts.
Yeah, crazy heat wave.
Too much, man. I can't handle all this. I need to just sit on a bucket of ice or something. Bring back the ice bucket challenge for today. Just today only, man. So before we get into the show today, we bring on the third man of our triangle offense. I need to take a quick moment to ask you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WestBoxScore, and also subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast downloaded. And now from the Fox Crate Podcast, the turntable titan himself, Sonny and Mano. What's up, Sonny?
What's up, gentlemen?
Yo.
So the NBA playoffs are finally underway in the Disney bubble. The Clippers got things started against the Mavericks. Donald, what did that game look like to you?
That was a really good back and forth game. I was really, really impressed with seeing how the Mavs answered back against the Clippers. The Clippers came off really strong. I believe they were up 16 points in the first quarter. Like in the first, it might have been 12. But Luka Doncic, man, he's a beast. So it was crazy seeing the Mavericks come back. Him, Porzingis. I think the Porzingis ejection is what kind of swung the game in the Clippers' favor. But man, Luka Doncic was a crazy player to see, given that like he's so young and he's like that guy that's just, it's crazy seeing how he can just ball out the way he balls out. And even though Patrick rarely got into foul trouble in the beginning, he does that whole mental thing where he tries to tough out and punk the other team. But I don't think that's going to work against Luka, man. Luka is a guy that had already won a title in Spain, and he's really not shaken by the NBA like that. So it was really crazy, but it was really impressive seeing the Clippers pull it out. I thought Kawhi did his thing, Paul George did his thing. But again, like I guess crazy seeing the back and forth. The Mavs looked like they were down, but Luka just brought them back in, kicked it out to Seth Curry. Seth Curry got a lot of threes, and that's what helped them, kept them in the game. And I thought that was really, really crazy seeing that. So this series is really interesting to see that. I know Kawhi had a really good game, and Paul George had a great game. Kawhi had 29 points. Paul George had 27, but Luka, man, again, 42 points, which is like, I believe he broke a record for biggest debut in a playoff with the most points. So, that was crazy. But yeah, big ups to the Clippers, man. They really pulled it out, and it's really impressive.
What did you take away from this first game, Sonny?
It was a great game, actually. I expected it to be a close contest all the way through. I remember the live exchange. Donald was already counting the Mavs out like after the first quarter. Right, yeah. He was like, "Oh, this is not even going to be close." And but I think Luka had something to say about it, as you mentioned. And that Porzingis thing, man, that was a shame that became the narrative of this game because
right.
In my opinion, it was a bad call. And it obviously affected the rest of the game from that moment out, and the Clippers were able to recover. Credit to them, for doing what they had to do at that point. But I'm curious. I mean, at the time of this recording, they're about to tip off Game 2. So I'm curious to see come Friday, or at the time that you're listening to this, what the series is going to be. Is it 3-0 Clippers, or is it 2-1? Mavericks, possibly. My guess is it'll be 2-1 Clippers. I think that the Mavericks are going to take one of these games coming up, just based on the matchups. Yeah. But it was a good game, entertaining. That's the only playoff game I care to talk about. So just for the record.
We'll get into the next one. But seeing the playoffs now, within this bubble, and you mentioned this last time about 8 versus 1 not having the home court advantage when we previewed the Lakers matchup. And it's weird to see this the referees making calls almost neutral now. We'll get into the Laker game right now coming up, but I remember them mentioning how if this was a home game, the referee would have swayed a different way on a charging call that eventually they had to review and switch back. So going back really quickly to the Clippers and Mavericks, you were mentioning about the potentially being 2-1 or 3-0. There's no home court now. So it's up in the air, all these games now. It's just, It's more fun as a fan, neutral, just as a fan of the sport, because it's more just even based. But when we have a vested interest, like we'll get into now, Lakers and Trailblazers game 1, it's heartbreaking when they lose because the Lakers lost that game. And it's just like, if this was at Staples Center, it would have been a whole different story. You would have the crowd into it in clutch time, and you just want that home court, and there's no home court. So it's just this weird playoff. So whoever does win this title, this NBA title, is going to freaking earn it, man. So big ups to these number 8 seeds who beat number 1 seeds. Spoiler alert, the Magic beating the Bucks in the East. And then Donald, tell us what happened in Lakers versus Trailblazers game 1.
Oh man, I don't want to talk about this.
Wait.
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
Can you tee up or rewind? Because last week you had asked us how we felt about the matchup with the Blazers. Donald being like, I welcome the matchup.
I know a lot of people, I see a lot of things on Twitter, people kind of scared if the Lakers had to play the Trailblazers in the first round because of how good the Trailblazers shooting is and just what Nurkic brings to that low post. But I kind of welcome that challenge, and I would love to see like a cool little all-star game going on within Anthony Davis, LeBron James, CJ McCollum, and Damian Lillard. And then Carmelo Anthony, he's just like fun seeing him there, even though it's kind of a weird thing seeing him not be like that ace, but he's definitely accepted himself as a role player there, and I think it's cool. But I do get that it can be kind of scary given that the Lakers shooting is not what Portland shooting is, so that's the scary part right there.
Well, we joked about this in our group text that, man, Donald, be careful what you wish for, because this is what you wanted. You wanted
this. It's your fault, Donald.
This is all on you, Donald. You wanted this matchup, and I didn't stop you because I'm like, okay, I love the sound of an all-star series matchup, right? Like an all-star playoff series, like. Even though it's 1 versus 8, and you even said, Sonny, it's not a true 1 versus 8 here because the Trailblazers are playing really well in the bubble, and the Damian Lillard and all the other weapons the Trailblazers have, and it's just, man, I didn't expect the Blazers to play this freaking well in this game 1. It's just watching it, because whenever I harken back to my Laker fandom, I think of those early 2000s and how dominant they were, Shaq and Kobe and all that. And it's just like, they're going to turn it on here because they would almost flip a switch, right? And get in playoff gear. It's like, hey, LeBron, flip your switch, man. Hey, use your team here. Let's figure out a way to win it. And seeing them kind of not roll over, because that's not accurate too. They took them down the stretch, but just not having that sorry if this sounds cliche, that Mamba mentality to get the big clutch win here when it matters. It's like, come on, Bron, get it in gear. So we're already giving our analysis here before Don even gives us the breakdown of what actually happened in this game. So Don, go ahead and tell us Lakers Trailblazers game 1. Please give us the details here.
Yeah, so the Lakers lost game 1 of the.
In case you couldn't tell,
we were already talking about it. But they lost 100-93. If you watched the game, you saw that it was a pretty contentious back and forth, even though the Lakers were trailing the majority of the game, and they were basically just trying to catch up to the Trailblazers. And finally, when they did, I think the most they were up by was 6 points. It didn't really matter because the Trailblazers just came back and they tied it up. And then Dame Lillard does what he does, where he just shoots these crazy 3-pointers from way behind anybody being able to defend it and put the game on ice. And that's just kind of what he does. And that's, I don't know what the Lakers have to do to contain that or stop it. I mean, you probably can only mitigate it, but I don't think you can stop it. And I think that's the scary part about this team. And, you know, to your point, Alex, you are right. Like, this is not a typical 8 seed. This is, I would put your Trailblazers at like number 4. I would think that in the West, it'd be Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, and then Trailblazers. I wouldn't even put the Rockets above them, but it's just crazy seeing how they did what they did and comparing it to the Magic Bucks. I mean, the Bucks can come back easily. It just looked like for the Bucks, like you said, the home court advantage. That definitely showed that the Bucks needed that. But with this game, with the Lakers and Trailblazers, it just felt like it shouldn't have mattered given the amount of talent that's on both teams. But the Lakers really should have pulled it out. And I know that Lakers Twitter was going off on Frank Vogel last night, talking about maybe he didn't use enough of their other guys, enough of the rotation. So I'm not sure. Maybe it was something for the tape, but it just felt like everything the Lakers were trying, it was just interesting seeing a team look like they were just trying their best to get out of it with a win, and it didn't work out. And it was just interesting seeing that, because it doesn't look like your typical 1 versus 8 game in any given series from the NBA.
Well, yeah, that was Sonny's point he made originally going into this playoff preview matchup. And so, Sonny, go ahead and elaborate on this 1 versus 8 matchup here that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let me backtrack and say, can I add that I love this March Madness feel of these playoffs with the 10 a.m. game and then the 12 or 12:30 or 1 o'clock game, et cetera, on a weekday. Can we just make this a permanent thing moving forward? Cool. of all the things that came from this? I totally love that vibe. And that's what I have to say about that. Now, as for the Lakers and Blazers matchup, man, I would argue that home court advantage is even that much more important in a series like this. Like you said, Alex, the Lakers didn't have the crowd to kind of rally behind or feed off of in this situation. In a game that it felt like they were flat kind of the entire game. Yes, they were hanging around. Yes, they even took the lead, like Donald had said, but they never looked threatening like that. They never looked like they were going to run away with it. And that's where I feel like, you know, in the ebbs and flows of an NBA game, when the home team is scuffling a little bit or they can't find the energy, that's where the crowd really does play a factor. And the fact that that's not going to be there, you know, it should ring the alarms. And that's what I was afraid of. You know, I was afraid that a team would catch them flat and capitalize. And then before you know it, because if they drop 2 in a row, you might dig too big of a hole in this bubble, you know, to think that you can just, as you said, turn on that switch because you don't have home court advantage. Now, on the same side of that, though, the Blazers don't have home court advantage either. So it's not like there's any real, you know, momentum that the Blazers would have by saying, oh, well, all we needed to do was split the first 2, right? Because that's always the philosophy when you're the road team. That kind of doesn't matter here. It's like, yeah, congratulations, you took the first game, but the Lakers can just as easily, if they do respond accordingly, take 4 in a row and not blink an eye, you know, or not bat an eye. So it's weird, man. I'm very curious as to how they're going to come out in game 2. I would argue Rajon Rondo needs to be inserted ASAP, and I never thought I would say that. But yeah. It feels like, aside from his veteran, you know, presence and his experience in the playoffs, just somebody, an extra body to kind of get in the lane against the Blazers is something that we're desperately lacking, or at least we lacked in game 1. And so we'll see, man. I mean, like I said, that's why I wanted you to rewind the tape, because I did not feel good about this matchup. I did not want the Blazers. I was praying for the Suns to get in, even though the Suns were playing like blistering hot basketball, but it's a completely different matchup. I was praying that the Grizzlies were going to end up with that 8 seed.
Yeah. Well, not to sound like an old man yelling at a cloud here, but it just doesn't. Is this like an authentic playoff vibe? It doesn't feel like it, only in the sense because of the crowd. Like, that's why the Lakers lost this very important game 1, because And I'm going to be interested to see going forward with all these other playoff matchups to see if these are just going to feel like completely different games rather than an entire series, if that makes any sense. Because it's with the playoff series, every game has like almost it all connects into one giant story, right? It just feels like that's what the beauty of a playoff series. And with this bubble, is it going to have that same feel to it when it's all said and done, looking at every series? It doesn't feel like it right now, because as you mentioned, the first step is when you're a road team to try to split one of those first 2 home games. And okay, now the Blazers got one, as you're saying, like, is it really going to matter? Like, it's just one game. Like, you just move on. You don't have the road versus home atmosphere. Yeah. So I'm just curious to see what it's going to feel like when this first series is said and done. And not to sound like an bitter old man, and also like a myopic Lakers fan, it's just like, oh, we lost and now it sucks and now it's terrible. But it's just so weird after losing that first game. Yeah. Just my vibe from it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what like a game 4 would be like, right? Like, let's say the Lakers are down 2-1 and game 4 would have been in Portland. I wonder if the Northwestern fans would feel the same way if, let's say, Portland drops that game 4. If they would be like, damn it, if we were in Portland, the Blazers would have wrapped this up, you know? Right. Or maybe they're just looking at us like, man, fuck you, Lakers, like LA fans. Like, you guys, like, the best team won and you guys just can't accept that your team's not as good as you were hoping they would.
They incorporate the beat LA chants when LeBron's shooting a free throw in that pivotal game 3 or 4. That would be
they have to, right? They have to, yeah.
So what's coming up next in the Lakers and Clippers series, Donald?
Game 3 for the Clippers will be tonight at 6 p.m. and that's going to be on TNT. Game 4 for the Clippers will be on Sunday, and that's going to be at 12:30 p.m. That's going to be on ABC. So that's going to be cool seeing a national game. And then Game 3 for the Lakers is going to be on Saturday at 5:30 p.m., and that's going to be on ABC as well.
Be sure to check that one out. Lakers in 5, just so you know. Moving on. That's just me, the Galaxy optimistic hope that we'll get into later.
I think we call that we call those oxymorons, right? Galaxy, hope. Those things don't.
Let's save it for the MLS is back segment later. So before we get to MLS and soccer talk, we got to talk baseball now, because baseball's going on. The Dodgers swept the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles over the past weekend. As of this recording on Wednesday, they are riding a 7-game winning streak. The bats are just as hot as the weather outside. Donald, what's fueling this hot streak?
Well, the Dodgers have 17 home runs in this winning streak. With Will Smith on the IL, Austin Barnes has taken over as a quality catcher, and he has improved his batting. I think that's my biggest takeaway from this team, is just seeing his batting average go up to 300. I believe it's at 304 right now. Just a little bit below Mookie Betts is 305. So I'm hoping like Mookie's probably just been the one mentoring him, or just kind of showing him, hey man, like, you know how to be a smarter hitter. And I think that's been great to see that. I think that's my biggest takeaway for sure in terms of the hitting. Obviously, Curry Seager's doing really well. And, it's just been crazy. I think both Austin Barnes and Corey Seager were instrumental in winning that, because it was Seager's hit that led to Austin Barnes to take the winning 2-1 lead. And it's just been really cool seeing them. Unfortunately, like, I can't say the same for Cody Bellinger. He's been really cold, so I definitely do miss those belly bombs, and that's just been probably the only negative I could take away right now from this Dodger hitting team.
Yeah, that is true. Belly bombs are awesome. But so as you mentioned, the Dodgers are halfway through a 4-game home and away series with your M, Sonny. And game 1 was a slugfest, man. 11-9. But thanks to a 7th inning Kike home run, hashtag mustache power. And then Kyle and Corey Seager each homered in that game. That was awesome to see. So, Sonny, what have been your takeaways from this series so far?
I don't know if I should leave this series feeling optimistic from a young Mariners team standpoint, that it's like, hey, you were able to kind of hang with the big boys, the franchise, the marquee franchise that's quite honestly the favorite to win it all, and you gave them a run for their money in well, at least to this date, at least 2 of the 4 games. Right. We'll see what happens with the other 2, but or if I should feel somewhat pessimistic about the Dodgers, that they let a young Mariners team like this kind of go blow for blow with them, and it took the 8th or 9th inning for them to kind of put them away. And even then, Kenley Jansen didn't look great in the first game. Like as a Mariners fan, I was licking my lips like, is he going to blow this right now?
To be fair though, Kenley Jansen rarely looks good in 9th inning saves.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And the fact that, you guys were sweating against a lowly Mariners team could be reason for
that's what I'm saying. He looks bad against anybody he faces, and yet he finds a way to make a save, which is always makes us sweat through every save opportunity Kenley gets.
But when you face a better team though, that's where it becomes a problem.
But he'll still find a way to get it done, which I'm surprised at that too.
Right.
It's like driving that
I can't argue that because I think
I don't know if it's gonna get me to where I gotta go. I don't know if it's gonna get me there. And when you make it like, oh my god, I'm so glad we made it to where we had to go and didn't stall out on us. That's Kenley Jansen. That's our closer.
Yeah, no, credit to him because I think he has like 8 saves on this shortened season, which is amongst the league leaders, which is great. At the end of the day, like you said, he is technically finishing them off. So, those were kind of my takeaways. It's been a fun series to kind of watch thus far. Like you said, that seeing the Seager brothers homer in the same game was awesome.
Right.
I will say to Donald's point, Austin Barnes definitely owes Mookie Betts some favors or some dinner or a Rolex watch, whatever. I mean, the amount of money that Mookie's getting paid, I'm sure he doesn't need Austin Barnes to buy him anything, but just as a gesture, because I'll tell you what it is. It's not that Mookie Betts is giving him any pointers. It's that Austin Barnes is batting 9th right before Mookie Betts. And so as a pitcher, you rather take your chances with Austin Barnes. So you're going to feed him fastballs right down the middle or to try to get him to hit into play and to get him out because you want to avoid facing Mookie. Austin Barnes just has to be smart enough to know that, which he has been, and he's taking advantage. So really, it's just a simple matter of credit to Dave Roberts for putting Austin Barnes has to thank Mookie Betts, Dave Roberts, and the new rule that requires the National League to have a DH, and that it's not the pitcher batting 9th anymore because it would be Mookie following the pitcher or the pinch hitter, depending on the inning. But now instead, welcome to the big boys. Welcome to what the American League has had to strategize for as pitching from a pitching standpoint, that there is no easy out 1 through 9. Welcome to the Big Boys League, gentlemen.
Did you just refer to the American League as the Big Boys League?
Yeah, I know it's called the Junior Circuit, which is the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. But it is the Big Boys League because, again, there is no easy out 1 through 9. If there was any evidence of it, it's Austin Barnes batting what he's batting. It's the benefits, and this is the deeper nerdy side of baseball. The analytical side is just look at the numbers. When you're batting behind arguably one of the hottest hitters in the league in Mookie Betts, of course it's going to change, the type of pitches that you're getting thrown. If it was a pitcher batting before Mookie Betts, no problem. Those guys aren't caring about hitting, most of them. And so the opposing pitcher is going to have no problem getting that guy out. Why
it's called the Junior Circuit?
Because it came after. That's the only reason why it's called it.
To not have to strategize with your pitcher batting up there. It's easier to have no easy outs, quote unquote, like you just said. It's more strategy.
On the contrary, that's an automatic out.
Is it though? When you have to decide whether your pitcher's hot enough or not to pinch hit for him, rely on your bullpen, have a strong enough bullpen to do
But that's something you don't have to worry about until
baseball, and that's why it's great.
That's something. Except that's something you don't have to worry about until after the 5th inning, after the 6th inning. So the first 6th.
You worry if you're a National League manager, you worry about that as soon as you get to the 3rd inning. Usually, nobody is going to take out their starting pitcher after the 3rd inning in a regular season unless that pitcher's already getting lit up. That's different. If he is getting lit up. And that's where you need to get some runs on the board right away.
Yeah, well, that's
the beauty of why the National League is great, not having the DH. Just so you know, that's how I feel about it. I like the DH too, but I also love the strategy involved with your pitchers pitch hitting for him or not, pinch running even too. That doesn't happen much in the American League.
Well, pinch running didn't happen a lot in the National League. Actually, just from a running standpoint, I think this year the league is down across the league 30% in stolen bases. So nobody's running anymore. I
missed that too.
Yeah, nobody's running anymore.
Old man yelling at the clouds again.
Yeah, but anyways, I digress. We could talk about how the DH,
the microcosms of baseball. It's so, all the unwritten rules and inside strategies of baseball.
Free Tatis, please, free Tatis, man.
I agree with you, man. That's so dumb. That's why baseball is awesome and dumb at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Fire that Rangers manager ASAP. Like get that bullshit
for not
out
having
of here,
his back, dude.
And fuck Eric Hosmer for talking to his own teammate, having to give his own teammate a pep talk. And it's like, come on, man. Don't get me started.
Let's just throw this out there. Hey, Fernando Tatis Jr., you know who's the real player's manager? Dave Roberts. Hashtag just saying, come on this way. 5 North.
Wow, you just want everybody, man. Hey, and you know what I was going to say too? Keep that same energy. When you introduced at the top of this baseball coverage, and you said the Anaheim Angels of LA, keep that same energy for Saturday with the Galaxy. All right? I want to hear you introduce the Galaxy every time now as the Carson Galaxy of LA from your mouth. That's what it's got to be.
I'm going to own that up now. We'll get into that later, but Carson Galaxy. Okay, keep it up. So, Donald, coming up this weekend, the Dodgers take on the Colorado Rockies. So, do you think the Rockies pose any kind of threat to the Dodgers' 8th consecutive NL West title? And who should the Dodger fans keep an eye on in this series?
Charlie Blackmon definitely is a guy you got to watch out for in the Rockies. He actually has the highest batting average right now at 429, and he leads in hits as well with 39 hits. So and that's overall in the whole MLB. So I mean, he's definitely a scary guy to face at bat. But overall, I don't think the Rockies, I don't think they're going to win that series against the Dodgers. And I'm not saying that as like a, kind of like in an arrogant way. But the fact is they're coming here to play.
A confident way.
It would be different if they go to Colorado, because I know it's always different there with the altitude, and that's always a questionable part whenever you play them. But I mean, coming here to LA, I don't see how the Dodgers can't win that series. They probably might give one to them, but overall, I see them winning it. I know as of right now, as of the time of this recording, the Rockies are 4 games behind the Dodgers in second place in the NL West. But I feel that the Dodgers have a decent cushion right now. So, it's pretty good.
There's also another team that plays in the LA area, but they play a little bit further south. This is a whole different county, Sonny, just so you're aware. It's in Orange County. It's not even LA County. I'll get you a map. We'll go county for county so you can learn the cities here.
Yeah, you'll learn how big LA County actually is when you look at that map.
Well aware. Yeah, exactly. Not as big as San Bernardino County, though.
No.
But so the baseball team down there in Orange County, who still calls themselves the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, what's going on down there with them, Donald?
So right now, currently at the time of this recording, they are playing the San Francisco Giants. And the Angels actually took the first game of the Giants 8-7, but the Giants came back on the second game with an impressive 8-2 win on Tuesday.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, so you hate to see it, Angel fans. I don't know if you guys got that. I actually got that joke from a lot of the 8-2, a lot of that 8-2 stuff that was happening over the weekend. That I don't know if we'll ever talk about it.
We'll get into that a little bit later.
But yeah, so I snagged that. I had that in my back pocket as a 8-2. But currently the Angels are
Champions League reference.
Yeah. The Angels are currently in 4th place in the AL West. Mike Trout, he's currently in 2nd place with the most home runs at 10. Of course, the season leader is Fernando Tatis Jr., shortstop for the San Diego.
Free Tatis. Free Tatis. Free Tatis.
And then in 3rd place is Mookie Betts. So, the Angels look like they're doing their best. And I feel like it's probably a very analytical type of season for them, where they're going to probably analyze a roster and figure out what to do moving forward. But yeah, that's where the Angels are at right now.
Good for the Angels, man. I like to see them do well, and I especially like to see Mike Trout play. He's just like one of the generation's greats. And it's just a shame that he's down there on the wrong side of LA County border there.
I want to call him like Lionel Trout now. Because the way the Angels are wasting him right now, it's wasting the GOAT. It's disrespectful, man.
But he had his chance to leave, man. He could have left and tested free agency, but he wanted to stick around. That's what happens.
He trusted in the franchise, man.
That's a shame. That's a shame to see that in sports. But that's why you those fan bases stay loyal for one individual player, which is what's scary is when you're loyal to a player and that fan base or that team and their club doesn't stay loyal to you and doesn't invest later.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend.
So speaking of being loyal to the club, we're loyal to the club that's about to start off again this Saturday with the MLS is back again. The Galaxy take on LAFC Saturday at 3 p.m. on Fox 11. Big Fox. So that's cool to see that everybody's going to be able to watch this game. So Chicha's more of a corporate shill, more of this goal poacher told us he was going to be when he signed with us. He's on Instagram posting about Bud Light Seltzer. Donald, as a Galaxy
Get that money, Chicharito. Get that money.
Donald, as a Galaxy fan, how does that make you feel, man?
It's a bad look. It's a bad look. I think that I get it. You probably have your responsibilities with these companies that you sign deals for. And I totally get it. But it's just, I don't like it. I don't like the idea of doing it. And then on top of that, it's kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Embarrassing?
It is embarrassing, but it's also like pandering towards the Latino community about like, oh, like drink Bud Light Seltzer because, I'm drinking it too or whatever. Right. And I don't like that. It's the same thing as the Herbalife thing where it was just a commercial and it's all targeted towards Latinos to go and consume. And I don't like that. I feel like
that's a fair point. You know what? That ad was all in Spanish. That's a good point. I didn't catch that after you mentioned that.
I know in Donald's defense, because you don't follow El Tri, obviously you being of Salvadorian and of Honduran descent, but it pretty much is on brand. Chicharito is on El Tri brand because El Tri has done this for decades. That they pander, as you said, to via Budweiser, Bud Light, or all these different major corporations to the Latino audience. You name it, it's the flavor of the year. Right. Really. It's really on brand for Chicharito. I'm not surprised by this at all. And shame on you guys for knocking down a fellow Latino just trying to make a living, trying to get his, man. Trying to get his. Like,
he's getting paid.
I better not hear the West Box Score brought to you by Tecate or Bud Light at any point in the future. Hey, I don't want to hear that.
As much as I'm knocking him right now for being a corporate shill, I won't knock somebody's hustle. Like, by all means, I know that's why he came, but I want some effort on the field before you start trying to sell me something, bro. It's like, come on. Like, dude, once you score some goals, once I get the real Chicharito hat trick and not my version of his hat trick, then I'd be the first in line to go buy some Bud Light Seltzer and sign up for Herbalife, a pyramid scheme. I'll be right there with them. But I want some production on the field, and I'll be right there. Dude, I'm buying that Zlatan gum that he sells for memory focus. I'm buying his Samsung TVs, dude. I'm with any kind of corporate show. Dude, I'm gonna be flat out. I'm a commercial whore when it comes to this kind of stuff. I will buy what you're selling me as an athlete, as any kind of person, influencer, as long as I trust your brand and you produce on what your level of expertise is. Conor McGregor, proper 12 whiskey. When he's winning, it's delicious. It's great. Even when he's not winning, it's still pretty good whiskey. But I'll try all that stuff because they produce on the field in their avenue of sports. But Chicha, come on. When I see this stuff, it's like, dude, produce first, and then I'll roll with you. But right now, it's not a good look. Sonny, I got to ask this question to you. It's pretty obvious, though. But how do you feel about, how confident are you now going into this El Clasico match on Saturday after seeing Chicha's ads?
How confident? I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good about it being the first game of the season. I think we talked about this last week. I'm just excited that it's kicking right back off again, and this time we'll have Vela,
right?
And it'll be fun to see. Interesting, I should say, and fun to see him reintegrate with the squad, given how well they played despite them being bounced in the tournament. Overall, I'd say it was a success for the squad getting that far without their best player, and in the fashion that they did do it was impressive. So now I'm curious to see how Vela is going to reintegrate, and if those guys have some of that carryover confidence, and hopefully they display it right from the jump against your rivals. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm looking forward to it. Like I think like you said, or Donald said, it being nationally televised is always great for the sport and for the league. So that's awesome. So hopefully both teams put on their usual, fight. At least from the jump, what happens. Hopefully there's fireworks either way. So
yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, as a Galaxy fan, we have to look out for that second half Bob Bradley adjustment that he's famous for. So that's all.
Hopefully no adjustments needed this time, though. I'm hoping that's not the case. Hopefully it's just, hey, you guys hit the ground running and this game's a wrap. So we'll see.
The LAFC adds Vela, but they lose one of their key players, Diomande.
Correct.
What's the story there, Sonny? Do you have any intel on that?
From what I've gathered, he just it was a family decision. He decided, due to the circumstances of COVID or whatever it may be, he's from Europe. I'm not sure if his family was living in Europe while he was playing overseas here. I'm not exactly sure, but it definitely was a family decision as to why he decided to leave the MLS altogether and go back. And it was a tough blow. I mean, he didn't play. I don't recall him coming in during the bubble. There might have been one game where he came in, but
he was a sub on one game.
Yeah, but he wasn't that big of a factor as he normally has been for us since he joined the club. So on the one end, it's kind of bittersweet. You don't blame the guy. Hey,
of course not.
Whatever is best for your career and for your family is good with me, man. So hopefully, again, some of these other guys just kind of fill that void. This just magnifies the importance of signing Bradley Wright Phillips, because it kind of allowed us to absorb something like this, where one of our forwards decides to not be with the club anymore. It's like, okay, well, we should still keep rolling, though, because we have enough weapons up there to, as long as they're healthy, obviously,
right,
to keep it going. So, yeah.
So sticking with...
I'm sorry, I was going to say I'm more nervous about, not nervous, but I'm more intrigued by the departure of our president, Tom Penn, than I am about the player, than I am about Diomande's exit. So I'm curious to see how that role is going to be filled and by who, and what that's going to mean for the squad in the near future. So that's something to keep an eye out.
I mean, sort of this trickle down, hopefully, and you hope they keep their level of scouting and player development, and that could have a negative trickle down effect. Hopefully not for your squad, because it looks really strong right now.
Yeah, I was hoping for one president to be removed this week, and it wasn't LAFC's. I'll tell you that.
We'll get into that.
He was overseas, the guy that I was hoping.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We're going to get into that in just a quick moment, though. Donald, key additions and or subtractions for the Galaxy going into the Saturday. What do you have for us?
I know Jonathan Dos Santos has been training with the team. They've been showing photos of him at training, which I think is it's a good sign, because I know since he missed out.
You're our only hope.
Yeah, exactly. He missed out on the tournament, man, and it was definitely needed. So I'm excited to see him back. Much like Sonny said about Vela coming back, I think it'd be it's going to be good to see both teams have at least their star players be on the field, which is the biggest takeaway from it all. I heard that Chicharito was training by himself, away from the team. I believe a couple days ago. I think as of right now, Wednesday, and I think he's already back with the team. So we might see, him being integrated back in there. But yeah, he was training by himself. So it's kind of tricky with Chichar because it feels like they're kind of slowly creeping him back in. But my thing is, just announce that he's going to be there, because that's what we all want to see. We all want to see Vela versus Chicha. That's what we want. And we want to see Jonathan Dos Santos there too. I mean, I don't see how you don't just sell the big representation that's going to be on that field that day. But yeah, it should be exciting, at least on that end. Hopefully they perform, and hopefully they just give a good match. So.
And I love, as you're saying all this information, Sonny is over there licking his lips, rubbing his hands together, so excited for that potential Chicha Vela match. Fingers crossed. Oh, if only it happened just the way it happened. What happened to Donald with the Blazers Lakers matchup? And be careful what you wish for when Chicha shows up, pumped chock full of Bud Light seltzer, and scores 3 strong goals on LAFC. Watch it happen.
You know what would scare me? What would scare me is if Chicharito before the game puts on a Damian Lillard jersey. Then that's what would scare me. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Oh, that's too funny. Well, that's tomorrow, Saturday. So be sure to check out Trafico. So let's go to across the pond to check out what's going on in Champions League. And
the champions!
A week ago, we got to see Barca take on Bayern Munich. And
Who?
As you guys both call... Who? You remember them, right? Well, I don't know if Barca really showed up. It felt like I was watching Galaxy take on Bayern Munich, because it was not the same Barca team that showed up in that previous match. So, Donald, I don't know if do we even recap it? What is there to dissect from that game other than defensive mistakes? Just not letting, because that's not fair to Bayern, because they were in control the whole match. So it's not even letting them. It's just Bayern taking over for 90 minutes and Barca just trying to hold on for the ride. Yeah. So let's just not take anything away from Bayern Munich, who are now, as of today, in the Champions League final. But if you want to go ahead and give it a shot, Sonny, I'll let you dissect or just give your thoughts on that match.
Man. In a nutshell, it's just what I was afraid of when we were discussing this, and that's when we were discussing this match in our last episode, and that's that Barca's defense was going to show their true colors. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Not to blame 100% of this on the defense, because it just never works like that. But the reality is they were just overpowered. Again, what I was afraid of was Bayern Munich's overall attacking ability, aside from Lewandowski and their prowess, and they showed it. They showed that they can slice you up in many different ways, and they took advantage of that Barca defense. And by the time the midfield even tried to integrate themselves, it was too late. They were just being dominated the way I had feared. And again, I had maintained that their offensive weapons were actually greater than ours. The only thing I was hoping for or praying for, like I had mentioned on the last episode, was that Messi magic that just, again, it's fool's gold though when you're relying on that every single game. You know, it's like you alluded to earlier, you're waiting for LeBron to turn on the switch. Well, newsflash, this series is going to take more than LeBron to turn his switch on. You know, it's going to take some of our shooters to hit their shots, you know, in that sense. So in one essence, it almost feels like if this is what it takes to finally get Bartomeu out of office, and that's what I had referenced earlier, because he's been in his seat for what I feel now has been 3 years too long, then I'll take it as a necessary evil, you know, if it means actual real change for the club moving forward. But it doesn't sound. It sounds like he's not going to go down without a fight. even though he's promised to hold elections come March. But we'll see. I don't know, man. I don't even know. I can't tell you with certainty that Messi will stay. My gut feeling tells me that he will stay, but this is the most nervous I've felt about the prospect, because every summer there's like a rumor here or there that pops up of, oh, maybe Messi leaves this year, maybe Messi leaves this year. And this, of all the seasons, is the one where I'm just kind of like, oh my God, maybe this is time, or maybe Barca should sell him. And I know that sounds blasphemous to say, but they've almost put themselves in such a big hole, financially speaking, also, that they might have no choice but to sell him. So, I mean, I know I didn't recap that game itself. That was the game was a microcosm of what the real problems are that Barca has been facing for years.
Talking about this reminds me a lot of you saying how Barca should probably sell Messi right now. Reminds me a lot about when around 2005, when the Lakers were considering, was it 2005 or 2003, when they were considering trading or getting rid of Kobe.
Yeah.
And he was potentially leaving. Mm-hmm. And the Lakers were going to deal him, but then they had that, come to Jesus moment with each other. And they're like, we're with each other. We have to. So it kind of feels like if there was a good president over there in Barcelona, that's what you need to do. And just have him.
Except Kobe was, I think, 24 at the time, maybe 25. Messi's 33. And so that's where you have to reevaluate. It's crazy that from age 27 to 33, basically Messi's prime, or 28 to 33, he hasn't won a Champions League. That is, for any soccer player, that is your most prime years of soccer. From 28 to 32, you're playing the best. It's like when your mind and your body are on the same page. Your experience and your body's, and so long as you're healthy, obviously. Those are the prime years for any soccer player. And to know that Barca wasted those years, and Messi has almost nothing to show for it besides some La Liga titles and a few Copa del Rey titles, is very disappointing as a Barca fan. I mean, I started like reminiscing. I remember watching Messi's first game. When he broke with the first team, when Ronaldinho watching his first goal, and it was just like, oh my God, the things that we've been through as Barca fans with this guy, and to think that this might be the end, and that we wasted a lot of his years is so disappointing, man. It sucks. It sucks as just a fan. I know we try. There's obviously more important things going on in the world. We're talking about things as they relate to sports and why we care about them. And this one, for me, is more like, are you kidding me? So we'll see. But yeah.
Donald, go ahead and do your victory lap, because you were talking about overselling Bayern in this match against Barca, but you properly sold them, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead and do your victory lap. Quote
I was hoping to be wrong in everything I said during that hot take.
Why must you be right, Donald?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're kind of even between your Blazers prediction or wishes with your Bayern prediction.
Hey man, he can't help that he's always right, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
Can't. It definitely, like Sonny said, obviously there was bigger issues with the club, and I think definitely this loss, it shook like the whole soccer world. Like, I've never heard. I mean, outside the memes that happened over the weekend, which was a very memeable moment for Barcelona, which never really happened in that club. It was a very memeable weekend, and just every podcast I was listening to was just literally diving in on everything that went wrong, and then they were just all deep diving into the history of how this is just something that had been there, and it just felt like a Band-Aid this whole year. Past couple seasons have been Band-Aids, and then finally this loss ripped it off, and it showed that, hey, guess what? This is an old team, and even though they're a big name club, it really doesn't matter because they're an old team. And unfortunately for for Messi and Suarez, they're not as fast as someone who's like in their 20s, like Mbappe. And at least if Mbappe was in Barcelona, there'd be some sort of offense that can do something. But unfortunately, that's not what Barcelona has. And like Sonny said, like they misspent a lot of that money when they got rid of Neymar, and it's just a lot of stuff that accumulate over time, and this was the tipping point. And I think that now obviously Barca did a lot of stuff over the weekend. Like it was crazy to see that from Friday to the loss to Monday, they already had announced that they were getting a new manager, and they got the Dutch national manager to be to be the new manager, and then now the president speaking out saying, "Oh, Messi's gonna stay," which I'm sure he's saying that because he has to save face for some reason. But you could tell Barca's PR team is scrambling all over the place. They probably were scrambling when they were already down 4-1. Which when I saw that 4-1 lead, I was thinking like, okay, obviously I don't think Barca's gonna advance, and if they do, it's gonna be a miracle. But then seeing Bayern put another 4 on them was just like, damn, like. This is definitely a message about how this club needs to change like now. And it's kind of crazy, but coming next season, I don't know. I kind of don't want to say it's a rebuilding season because I know these clubs don't rebuild, but it kind of feels like it might be like it's going to be a season that might just be a lost season because they're going to try to figure out what they need to do roster wise. If they already got the new manager, they got to now figure out the roster. But then, like Sonny said, the president is also another issue where it doesn't seem like he's done enough to really make sure that that club is always at the top level, not just in La Liga, but also in the Champions League, because it has been too long for them to have won. They needed to at least win one at this point. And it's just been really sad to see that they always get bounced out the way they do. But yeah, it's just really ridiculous. But I mean, props to Bayern. They were killing it. They've been killing it. Man, I know I had mentioned Alphonso Davies. That dude was a defender, and he basically made that play where he shook the other defender and drew that really great goal. But it's just insane to see that. Like overall, it's just speed, size. You need all that, and Barca doesn't have that. So hopefully they make all these changes. I know they're doing a lot of PR stuff to save themselves right now, but I don't know. It's just you got to face the music. So
Alphonso Davies clip I saw, he first beat Messi, then a sliding Vidal, then took his defender all the way to the line, came back, and then passed Piqué, who blew the backup coverage, and a beautiful pass right down the middle for the tap-in goal. Alphonso Davies is pretty legit, and Donald, you were singing his praises right before that goal happened, I think it was. So you're Nostradamus here of soccer over here calling everything. But I just got to say, Bayern Munich, they're going to play in the Champions League final on Sunday against PSG. Sonny, who do you like in that match?
That's a tough one, man. I feel like I'm going to go with PSG. Just the way Neymar's playing right now. He's playing like the Neymar that we all knew he would be 4 years ago. It took him a little longer to get to this level. I mean, and maybe this is just a little spurt. Maybe he reverts back to the potential Neymar and not the actual Neymar that we're seeing now. But I'm going to say PSG, despite Bayern's dominance. Again, I not to discredit Bayern, but I think that loss or that game spoke more to Barca's problems and deficiencies than it did their, maybe their strengths. I know they also ran through Chelsea, but that's another team with its own set of problems also. And maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe they'll smack PSG in the face, 5-1 or something like that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think PSG has the complete team. I think I'm just rooting for them also because this is what PSG has been after since they signed Neymar. I mean, when they first signed Beckham and they signed Ronaldinho and they've been after this prize, the Champions League, for many years now, and I hope that they kind of deliver. I will say, just to put a quick bow, to go back to the Barcelona issues, that Messi is not blameless in this scenario either. and we can dive more into this as the season kicks back up and stuff and once we find out what's going to happen. But not obviously his play on the field speaks for itself, but off the field, there's been a lot of issues that either he has spoken on or hasn't spoken on, and sometimes your silence is just as damning as the words that you actually do speak. So, not to mention his relationship with Suarez, being as close as it is, I would imagine had played a factor in Barcelona hanging on to Suarez for way longer than they should have, and so that kind of falls on Messi's shoulders. I know that he was vocal about, speaking of Neymar, I know he was vocal about wanting to bring Neymar back, but it's almost like, as any leader of the team, right? To the, like, you're credited. I forget the saying, but you'll have to re-edit this. As any leader of any team, you get all the credit when you win, and you got to get some of the blame when you don't. It's why, ask LeBron about that. Mm-hmm. That's the first guy they'll point to when he loses, and it's the first guy they'll point to when he wins. Kobe and so forth and so on. Have all had to deal with that. Jordan. So Messi is no different in that sense. I'm not asking him to defend. That's not what I'm necessarily saying. That Alphonso Davies, that could have been any player though. That was the thing. That's why I wasn't as impressed with Alphonso Davies' run, because there are many defensive backs that have shredded that Barcelona line. And that's why it was more impressive Bayern's strategy. They knew exactly how to pick them apart. So hats off to their coaches, but to say blue past Piqué, I feel like you could say that, like, you could have said that like 30 times, different matchups. Bale blew past him back in 2015, and he's still trying to catch up to Gareth Bale from that game. Wow. So that just goes to show again how long these problems have been on the surface for Barcelona, and maybe I'm too in it, because I've been a diehard fan, that I was just like, are you kidding me? You guys are giving me that? Like, no, this is Barcelona's problems, dude. Like, it's unbelievable how long this has been the case. And Messi has hid a lot of these problems through his greatness, through his play on the field, through his amazing goals. But enough is enough. It's time to.
Sonny, I don't know if you're aware, we're not talking Barca anymore. We're actually talking about basketball, but it's okay. It's fine. No, I'm kidding. I just love the way I asked the question about the Champions League final, and you're like, I'm going back to Barca.
Yeah, man.
That's how passionate you are about this. And it is. That's awesome, though. I admire the passion, and you want to fix this team. And as we're recording this, I see on Twitter here, LA Galaxy's rumor, but it's a rumor about Messi, and it says TYC Sports are saying that Messi's family is already in talks with MLS, specifically with David Beckham's Inter Miami. So
that would make sense.
And I think you've mentioned that, right, Sonny?
Yes.
That if Messi does come to MLS, it'll probably
Inter Miami already made an offer to
or New York
Suarez, no? Yeah. A lot of those guys should already be looking at the MLS. Really, they're already playing MLS pace.
Yeah, I do. Well, Donald was being unfair to Messi, though. We were saying Messi's not fast. And first of all, Messi was never fast. What it is he was quick with the ball, but he was never like a speedster. What killed Barcelona is, in terms of not having speed, is not having somebody healthy like Dembélé out on the field, who was one of the players that they signed with that Neymar money. And when he is on the field, Barcelona's a completely different team. So yes, speed does kill. When you surround Messi with speed, man, it's like that's what they needed. They need that. They can't have a Messi and a Luis Suarez, who's also not fast, like Donald had rightfully mentioned. So, it's just, the MLS thing, I think Messi's 2 years away from the MLS. I don't see that happening. Again, I think Ronaldo's closer than Messi is. But I could see how Miami or New York would make sense for Messi. He doesn't really know English like that, which I think would speak to maybe his comfort level about playing for for a team closer to home, especially Miami being closer to Argentina. That makes a lot of sense. Whereas I think Ronaldo is more of like a well-polished superstar. The fact that he played in the Premier League, I could see Ronaldo making the move to a Galaxy, or dare I say even LAFC, even though I'm not a Ronaldo fan. But I could see Ronaldo kind of picking his spot more like broadly, like, oh, I could play there. Whereas Messi, I think it's very limited the amount of teams he would actually consider. I mean, does he know? Speaking about showing me maps, do we want to show Messi a map of Carson to know that there's no...
I think Messi would love playing in Carson because it's more of a suburb for his family, more so than like the Miami scene that's going on over there. I would think Ronaldo would fit more in Miami than he would in Carson.
I don't know. There's something about Miami, dude, that doesn't where superstars like to go to, because it feels like they can be superstars without the life of a superstar. Meaning, like, they're not going to be recognized everywhere or stopped everywhere like that. I think that was part of the appeal for LeBron when he went to Miami. Besides the fact that he was playing with Dwayne Wade, his best friend, and Chris Bosh, but it's just a different type of vibe in Miami. So that would make total sense to me if Messi or Ronaldo went to Miami. I will say this from the Messi links. I mean, on the one hand, with the Galaxy, you have Jonah, who was part of the Barcelona system, so that's a friend of Messi's. But then on the other hand, in LAFC, Vela and Messi were tight too. So, but also, who knows? Maybe.
GBS is super close with Messi's dad, though. Remember that, Donald? That was the whole thing for a while, where GBS contacted Messi's father.
Yeah.
You sure Messi wants to play for GBS, though?
At this point, I don't know if anybody wants to play for GBS.
Yeah, exactly.
Even guys in Carson, as you say.
Yeah, exactly.
So believe it or not, we're still in the Champions League segment. Donald, who do you like? A lot of
editing. Sorry, we meant to self-edit here, and then the passion came out.
No, for sure. That's awesome. PSG versus Bayern Munich. Who do you like, Donald?
It's tough for me to say. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout win. I think it will be like a 2-1, maybe a 3-2 win. Or 1-0 win.
You can't hedge your bets.
But, yeah, right. I just feel like whoever wins is going to win by a goal.
2-0, maybe 1-0.
It's not going to be like, it's definitely not going to be like a 3-0 win or anything like that. I think both teams can score. That's the crazy part, and both teams have great players that can make things happen. So, man, I have a hard time picking, but I guess since Sonny went with PSG, I'll go with Bayern. Just because, not because of what they did to Barcelona, just because, even in the semifinal against Lyon, they beat them 3-0. So, they're just a team that knows how to play well. They know how to play together. They know how to pass. They read each other very well. Very impressive. I mean, again, going back to Alphonso Davies, great kid. I think he's only like 20 years old, 21 years old or something like that. And he's a defender, which is crazy to think that a defender can attack and create what he does. It's insane. But him, Lewandowski, I mean, they've just been really impressive. I feel like they just have a great tenacity. So, I think it'll definitely be like either team could win it. I think Bayern, is a little bit better in my opinion. But it's going to be like a close match, like 2-1, 1-2, or 3-2 or something like that. I don't think it's going to be like a 4-0 or anything like that. So
before we wrap up, if you're a big fan of actual sports, you may want to turn off now, because we're going to talk about quote unquote fake sports. NXT TakeOver is this Saturday at 4 p.m. And I think you should check it out on the WWE Network if you can, because there will be a one-time real professional athlete performing. Pat McAfee, the former punter for the Indianapolis Colts, is going to take on Adam Cole, baby, in a one-on-one matchup, and that's been brewing through social media. I don't know if you've checked this out, Sonny or Donald, but it's really funny because Adam Cole goes on Pat McAfee's podcast that he hosts, and Pat McAfee starts goofing on Adam Cole, winning matches the way he does with the help of his faction, the Undisputed Era, and called Adam Cole, "You do well for a little guy. And that set Adam Cole off. He throws the mic down, gets in his face. He's like, and he curses at him. It's hilarious. And I mentioned to Donald, I'm like, this is a total work.
Of
This
course.
is a total fake, not true. They're setting up the angle. And of course, everybody on social media is like, no, that Adam Cole was really mad. And like, sure he was. And lo and behold, a month and a half later, what do we have? The main event of NXT TakeOver 30, NXT TakeOver XXX, which is awesome, right? It's Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee. That's gonna be worth checking out. Do you have anything to add, or do you watch NXT, Sonny?
I don't. We've talked about this, and I think there's a special podcast coming your way where we'll dive deeply into the history of the world wrestling entertainment industry. But I stopped keeping up with the entertainment industry as it is, I'd say, from the year 2006 and on. All that I know is that Shawn Michaels is heavily involved with the NXT development and production, as is Road Dogg, I think, Jesse James.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And that's so I've kept up obviously through my roots, being the DX fan that I am. But I'm sad to say that I haven't kept up. So maybe this is when I'll tune back in, man.
You should definitely check this out Saturday, and this is the precursor to what is WWE SummerSlam weekend. That is because on Sundays at 4 p.m. it's WWE SummerSlam, and the main event for that one is going to be Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. I'm sure you remember Randy Orton from watching that around. And in one of the Randy Orton's gimmick is the Legend Killer. So what happens on the Go Home show this past Monday? But Shawn Michaels comes to confront Randy Orton and put over Drew McIntyre. And what does Randy Orton do? RKO out of nowhere, the punt kick. What a goddamn villain! What a heel! I love this fucking show, man. I love this kind of stuff.
Somebody needs to sweet chin music his ass ASAP.
Drew McIntyre's gonna give him a Claymore kick from hell. You watch. I cannot wait. That's the main event for SummerSlam. Also, is going to be Dominic Mysterio, which is Rey Mysterio's son. He'll be taking on Seth Rollins.
Damn, I'm getting old.
Fight,
damn, you're making me way to make me feel old, Alex.
Do you remember Dominic in that angle between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero? I'm your papi, Dominic. Do you remember that?
Oh,
do you remember?
Right.
I know you do.
That's right. Oh my God. I can't believe he's wrestling now.
He's wrestling his first ever WWE match this Sunday for SummerSlam. WWE SummerSlam versus Seth Rollins.
Wow.
The Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins, dude.
Wow.
That's good stuff, man. You gotta check it out.
I feel old, man. I feel old. Damn.
All right, let's wrap it up with real sports one last time. UFC Fight Night on ESPN this Saturday at 5. I've also seen the 5:30 start time, but it's probably usually the main card start at 5 p.m. But be sure to check this out. The main event is Frankie Edgar versus Pedro Munoz. But I also want to send a big shout out to Alhambra's own Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. He's going to be fighting his third UFC fight. He's currently 3-0 in the UFC, 12-1 overall in his professional career. He'll be taking on Takashi Soto, who is 16-3 in the main card's opening fight. So check that out. Local boy, man. He's a welterweight. Have you seen any of his stuff yet?
I haven't, no.
Dude, he trains at 12th Planet over there with Eddie Bravo for jiu-jitsu, and he's got a few submission wins under his belt, but he's got some striking. All right, don't give Eddie Bravo any flack for being a flat earther and a conspiracy theorist. You know,
I can't separate Eddie Bravo, the trainer, anymore from Eddie Bravo, the thinker.
Come on, man.
Or non-thinker. I can't.
Non-thinker.
I can't.
I would say almost the overthinker, dude. Because when you get into conspiracy theories, your mind, you allow your mind to
digesting all the conspiracy theories that have been put out there via one's Instagram feed. Like he just spits them all out, all like on cue, dude. It's like, and he goes in circles. I can't stand it. Like he's gotten so bad that now when I find out he's training somebody, I almost root for that guy to lose just because Eddie Bravo is associated.
Dude, full disclosure, I love conspiracy theories. I think they're hilarious, dude. I think they're funny. Like, you have to see these all as
I bet you do. You're a Galaxy fan.
I saw a conspiracy theory where the MLS is conspiring against Galaxy to not allow them to win their 6th title, that not allowing them to making them sign Chicha, knowing that he's damaged goods.
Oh my God!
You see, but that's what's great about him. It's like there's no way to prove or disprove them unless it's flat Earth. That's pretty proven, dude. Come on, there's no such thing as flat Earth. Sorry.
Don't worry. Pause for the Chicharito commercial to tell you about the flat Earth.
This whole time, the Chicharito's commercial was played until now, so they didn't hear any of that stuff.
That's right.
But that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Conspiracy theories and everything. Thanks again to Sonny and Mano for joining us. Go ahead and check out his podcast, The Fox Crate Podcast, and follow him on Instagram at The Fox Crate. Next week, we'll cover more of the NBA postseason, MLB, and MLS seasons. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WestBoxScore. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts downloaded. See ya.
Peace.
Later.